Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the stream. If you're new here, my name is Brendan. I am the host of the DevChatter live stream, but we are much more than just the live stream. We're a community of developers, so if you are not yet following the stream, make sure you do so because you'll get notified whenever we go live, and that's the best way to make sure that you don't miss our streams. But also, you can check out our Discord where I do talk about like what's going to happen on the stream. So there's discussions of that there. So if you want to be involved in those, that's the place to do it. And if you want to take a look at the code that we work on stream, most of the code we do here on stream is over on our GitHub, and you can check it out at the link over there. And I'm going to toss out a link to my YouTube and Twitter as well. All right, let's get started. So the project that we're working on today is one that I started off stream, and I asked people if they wanted me to start it over again on stream. But first I'm going to run it so you can see basically what it is. As the description there tells you, we're building a user-focused WPF.NET Core bot. So I want to build a bot. Now, funny thing is the plan is to build a bot, and I have not connected this to any chat yet, which is fine, because I do, like, if I was going to do any of this on stream, I would probably want to show that piece at least. This is the bot so far. As I said, it is a WPF app using .NET Core. So it is like the current new like .NET 3.1, .NET Core 3.1 WPF application. This is the bot that we are working on. It has a couple of things right now. So first off, it resizes. You can't see much on the screen, but for example, as I said, it's not connected to Twitch chat yet. But I could say hello world, and I can either send that in with an enter, or I can say like hi there and send it in as well, and you'll notice it's like time stamping and putting in a username as DevChatter, and so it is keeping track of chat. And so this is so while you're in the bot, you do have some access to chat. Thank you for that follow. Welcome to the stream. So in addition to having this is also the place where we can have any information about what is going on. So probably I'll have like log messages and important things like that showing up here. So if the bot connects or disconnects, I will probably put that in here. So like, I mean, this is not the message, but like, there would probably be something like bot connected, and if it ever disconnects, bot disconnected. And these kinds of messages would show up in this view. 1 second, I don't think that adjusted the audio level that much for you, but that significantly adjusted it for me. So that's this view. We actually have a few tabs that I've created, like we're using this little hamburger menu, so we could click down here to go to the different ones, or we can expand that. This is where the user would manage their custom commands and things like that. So if they wanted to make a command, they could come in here and they could say, exclamation point ping, that will give access to everyone, and the response that it'll give is Pong, and we don't need any cooldown for that, right? And we could make another command that was like a shout out command, and maybe we only allow VIPs, moderators, and the like to do shout outs, and for that we could say like go check out just reset the column here. Go check out maybe arg1 right now. They are awesome. And maybe then we go https://twitch.tv/arg1. Right, so that might be the message that we put in there. Let me expand this so you can see it. But this might be what we would send, right? And so then that would be like the idea of how they could customize these sorts of things. It's not wired up to chat yet, Icy Black. And then also we'd give them like enabled and disabled so that they can, decide to enable or disable a row, right? So you want to turn off that command, just uncheck the box. So that's the type of thing that we're planning on building. So some kind of way of passing in these arguments, some way of giving it this basic command response. And then the last thing, so I don't have anything in here yet. So this one doesn't exist. But right here, I want to be able to give them custom plugins. Now, there's two types of plugins that I want to be able to support. I want to be able to support plugins that are C#. So I want to be able to say, like, put your C# plugins in here. You can build essentially anything that this bot could run on its own. You can also just add as additional code to your bot. So if we have a developer that wants to use this bot, they can just add that in, add any commands, routines, anything like that. So what's the plan there, you might ask? And to which I go, well, I happen to have written a bot that is custom built for our stream here. And if I build this one, I think it would be a good idea if I made, you know, like the DevChatter arcade plugin that I would include in here, or the a plugin for any of the various games that we had built in ours over there could just come in as plugins for this one. And so what is neat about that is then I can essentially take, reuse, and share the stuff that we built for the DevChatter stream with anyone else that wants to use and customize those pieces. So really cool stuff there. Thirdly, I want to add in the ability for plugins that were built for other bots to work with ours. So on this stream before, I have shown people how to build custom bots custom commands for the Streamlabs chatbot, for example, and do that in Python. And my thought is, well, there's a whole bunch of custom code that people have written for all the various bots that are out there. There's probably custom stuff for Nightbot, for Ankbot, for Streamlabs bot, for, you know, et cetera, bot. And so if we make it so that our the way we do our plugins is basically, if it runs an external thing, say for example Python, we just have to say, okay, what's the interface that they get called by, and then we can essentially just make an adapter that just says, all right, exactly, Simon is correct. So I don't know what Streamlabs bot uses or Ankbot uses, but we can call Python code. So essentially, and we could do that either as externally calling Python code, probably not the way we're going to do it, or we can internally inside of our app call the Python code, because again, we can do that. And Simon is correct that we could, for example, if someone wants to build an F# plugin, they absolutely could do that. And so the idea is I want to make it so that the bot has like core functionality that anybody would want. So the ability to like interpret the commands and be able to create the custom simple, like, you know, thing and response type commands. So like these, and yes, so Icy Black Deep, for example, we could run Iron Python to have the Python code run like inside of our application if we wanted to. So absolutely. And so the idea is then that we sort of open it up to the community. So instead of having to say to someone, hey, do you want to build something custom for our bot? Cool, send us a pull request and we'll add it into the bot. Then the problem is I have to say, well, do we want that for our bot? And it's like, well, I don't know that everyone's going to want that feature for the bot. And so we don't add it in. But with this approach, whatever feature you want to add, you can just add as your own plugin command that you bring in here. And yes, exactly. Wheatlaw's correct. We could do JavaScript as well. So that was the point I was trying to make, is we can support any of them. So if someone builds, like if someone has a plugin thing and they want it to work, the answer to be able to use this bot is we just make an adapter to support that type of plugin and just send whatever information it is that plugin needed. So if there is a bot out there, I don't know all the bots. There's like MooBot and like a million types of bots that have all kinds of silly games and other stuff. Wheatlaw, you could technically, if you wanted to make a Java one, you could make one. You could make a Kotlin one as well. Technically. I'm just kidding. So Root Guy. Yeah. Razor Blazer, what's next? Maybe. So I have no idea what they're going to do with the other names on those things, but that's sort of the idea. A couple of other things that I want to note on here. We're going to do like some customization stuff. Oh, did I break that? I think I broke that. Whoops. Okay, I broke something. I broke two somethings. Okay. Welcome to development, everyone, where developers break stuff every once in a while. Okay, so the idea is that we want to do that kind of stuff. I've got a couple of other things that I'm working on, which are so let's switch back here for a second. So next step. So I have been fleshing out the structure of this application with, the view having these pieces and all this stuff, right? Command settings doesn't do anything just yet, but I'm going to need to have some kind of settings for like whether or not certain things are enabled, whether they want to be able to restrict access to certain things, like and maybe we're even going to do maybe we'll even do stuff where access can be multiple types. So you could say like the streamer, moderators, and subscribers have access to this, but maybe not VIPs, for example. So if you wanted to go out of order, I don't even remember if I added followers to the list. But like this is, I did. So like this is the list of stuff. So like you could say, well, followers are the only ones that are allowed to use these commands. So followers, subscribers, VIPs. So they're kind of set up in order for this stuff. Lastly, I have this where you can log in both as your bot or as the streamer for various reasons. And we're going to be able to, this is where you're going to click connect to essentially connect yourself in. So the few things I need to do. We need to get this connected to Twitch. And then we also need to get it so that all the stuff we do in here gets saved somewhere. Now, the weird thing for most of us is that you and I and so most of the developers in this room, our data stores for a lot of our projects are going to be something like a document database, a relational database, those sorts of things. So we usually toss stuff either in database tables in like SQL Server, MySQL, etc., or we toss things in like a MongoDB, etc., like Redis, wherever you're putting your data. These projects are a little bit different, and I will explain why. So if you've worked with any bots and other programs that have a lot of these types of customizations, something that you will find is that, and yes, so there are a lot of data stores, but usually the idea is that with these types of things, they have a type of file format that is really easy. So they usually do file storage first off. And one of the reasons for that is that the file storage is so that other scripts and tools that the user uses can work nicely. So for example, if someone is doing a small script to have something that just runs in their OBS and is not tied to their bot, it's just running inside of their streaming software, it's much easier to deal with if the stuff they're reading is just basic flat file storage, which is like, for a lot of developers, they're like, oh my god, you're not using some structured thing, it's just like lines of code, what are you going to do? And so that sort of thing comes up a lot, and yeah, exactly. You get some panic among some devs when it's like, what are you doing without structure? It's like, well, okay, first off, we could probably get away with JSON data for some of the things, but yes, exactly, like a manifest file or an INI file, exactly, yes. So some of the programs that we build do those types of files, and it's totally fine to do. But a lot of people building like these business applications, which is the world that a lot of us are from, aren't used to that. So I figured I'd toss that out there before I get any panic from anyone. Yeah, so XML can work if you're expecting humans to be looking at it. I kind of steer away from. Yes, Simon, 100% correct. I need to catch up on chat. I apologize, everyone, but Simon is totally correct. We developers have a habit of going over the top and just over-engineering our solutions and jumping straight to we need a database to store this. So here's the trick. If we build something that uses file storage, then someone, for example, could make it so that their plugins can read some of that same information. So if, for example, we have a list of custom commands, for example, their code could look to see in the commands file whether or not there's going to be a problem if with their command, like whether there's a conflict, for example, on the command name, and things like that. So they could make their script be aware of any potential problems, and maybe alert them to it, so that we don't run into the, like, oh, you added a custom script that responds to ping, but you have a custom command that responds to ping. And so then the problem is that our bot clearly can't know what things their bot responds to, their custom command responds to. So we'd have stuff like that going on. The obvious answer is to make the storage a provider plugin itself. You could do something like that, Simon. That's absolutely true. And we could essentially, I think the route you're going is, if we exposed an interface for them to communicate with the rest of the bot, to be able to do that, then yes, we could give them a way of communicating with our data store. The challenge there is we would have to do it for every given adapter type. Yeah, thank you, Await Task. What a great suggestion. Okay, let me catch up on chat. I missed a bunch of stuff, and I apologize about that. Pudding, you did not miss this stream. Welcome. Is this theme color the one selected from WPF, or is this your operating system? Root Guy, I just chose one off the list. I just went with like dark olive, I think is what this is called. But I will be making, so we will be making it so we will be making it so that this is customizable, so that the user can actually pick the theme while they're in the program. And it will save. For now, it's not going to save because we're not saving anything. But again, that's one of the features we're going to build. Intro to the project, everyone. That's what today is. We're going to be building some code too, but intro to the project at the beginning. If we didn't break things, we'd have to put stuff in production. Slater, welcome. Thanks for that follow. Much appreciated. Then we get so bored we might actually have to write documentation to unit tests. That's true, Code with Sean. So my plan is to write unit tests. However, I will admit none of this is tested right now because this is almost entirely UI code, and there is almost no code in any of our view models. So most of what is making all this work is code from other systems that we're just leveraging. So this is almost entirely the UI. I have not built any click through on the interface like UI tests, nor have we done anything that I would call like end-to-end testing of any kind. But there's no logic yet, so there's no unit testing yet either. So we will be building that soon. Specifically, like this screen, technically we could start doing a little bit as we start actually making things happen. Nothing's really happening here. I'm literally just filling out I'm literally just filling in an empty collection. There's no work being done on that right now. So this is sort of a lie right here that you're looking at. So notice it just lets me create a new one, like no validation on anything like that. So I should point out, like, this is just the starting point. This is the beginning of the project, what we're going to be building. The key is to solve the people problem, build a community so that everyone build a bot, ports to build plugins, everyone else benefits. Trick is to make the plugin SDK easy so it's popular and any firmware. Yes, exactly, Simon. Yep, you hit on exactly the point. So I'm hoping that I can get all of you to, not all of you, some of you, to be interested enough to also help build some of this project. We're going to do, all right, we ran into one of the Z file name, literally the letter Z. Build the base classes and interfaces for the storage adapter you want to ship in the box, and let the user swap them out if desired. Yeah, you could do that, Simon. Yes. So this is our UI prototype at this point, Simon. You hit on it exactly. So this is the prototype for the UI for the application that I think we should build. I think it'll be a good one. This search box does not work at all, so so some things have been built to kind of seem like they do stuff. This is actually a thing that I recommend that if you are trying to sell anyone on a project, do this, but make it clear to them that it doesn't work. Like, that it's not done. Don't ever show this to a client that doesn't understand that this isn't done. They'll be like, oh, you're like 90% of the way there. It's like, yeah, no, I'm not. Okay. Is there a particular reason that we chose C# for the bot? So, kinda. So, for one thing, yeah, because it's not JavaScript. So I like C# a lot. I think it's a great language. And yes, so exactly as Rukai mentions, I do JavaScript on the stream, I do Python on the stream, and I do C# on the stream. Those are the main three languages of our stream. C# being the primary of that, JavaScript the secondary, and Python the tertiary language of this stream. That being said, we are open to other languages. Specifically, something that I want to do with this is we are writing it right now as a C# WPF app. And for anyone that is in our Discord, I did mention when I suggested doing this app, I said it was currently in WPF and .NET Core. And when someone had suggested then, hey, have you thought about looking into Maui? Which is Microsoft's it's their intended cross-platform, like .NET Core lightweight, essentially like build it and just change, restructure the UI to run anywhere kind of structure. That's sort of the plan anyway. We'll see how it turns out, but the plan would be to look at switching this to Maui once that becomes an option. So essentially just swapping out the UI. Icy Black Deep, as far as I know, it is not yet publicly available. If there is something to make it publicly available, then I'm interested. Derplord, that is a fantastic question. I have not decided yet if I am planning on doing Caliburn Micro or like MVVM Lite. It has been a long time since I've made that decision on a WPF app. We don't currently have anything handling the DI. We are doing, I'll call it poor man's DI. So we are DIing things in through constructors for the most part, where everything gets passed in instead of getting created by the object that needs it. However, there is a point where there are points where they are getting created. It's just the point that they're getting created is above where they're needed. So hence, we don't have the full DI approach yet. But again, this is just a prototype of the application, and we will be structuring towards that in the long run. Don't like ASP.NET's DI. I do like ASP.NET's DI Epoch Dev, which I'm hoping is how you pronounce that. And we actually use it in our other projects that are the same kind of thing. But yes, so Dark Polearm, first off, fun name. DI is Dependency Inversion, is usually what people mean when they say that, which I will specify. Dependency Inversion is what we are doing, and the way that you do it is by dependency injection. So let me explain. Instead of in our Twitch bot view.cs file. Okay, so this is our twitchbot view.cs file. So exactly, Epoch Dev said it right. It is, you inject your dependencies in order to invert the control. So you'll notice in here, I am not defining a view model of any type. I don't mention one here. There is no new view model thing getting assigned to this dot view model. It's this dot data context. So you'll notice that this code is not here. Okay, at minimum, if you're going to do this, you want this value to come in as a parameter to the method that creates this. So if I were using the IOC container, this would come in like this. So we would inject it in, and I would say data context equals the view model. And that's how we would do it if I were doing that style of approach. We are not doing that yet. If I take a look at this, you will notice it is not here either. So how does this get wired up? Well, it actually is getting attached to it by its parent. The interesting thing is its parent is also not the thing that is creating the view model for this. The view model for this is getting created right now at the top level. So right now, I believe it is, if I remember correctly, our main view model is the only thing that creates all the other view models right now. And someone's like, whoa, no, you created it. It's like, yes, I created it. I created the other view models in the main view model. But again, as soon as I need to do this a different way, we're going to shift this up even higher. And the beginning of the application is what is going to create this and the other ones. It is just, this is a quick way of prototyping this together. So when people commented like, yes, this is a prototype for, how the application is going to work. Yes, that's the idea. So a lot of the details have not been added. When you take a look at the solution, you'll notice that I did not break out like a core project. There's not a unit test project. There's not a dependency registrar project. There's nothing like that has been created. So this is mainly just, hey, here's the suggestion. Let's have a look. Add a singleton. So like Root Guy, I think is probably joking there, but the view model for the main window of an application sort of is a singleton. Even when you use dependency injection, when you use an IOC container. So the concept that a singleton is bad is... So a lot of people point out that singleton is an anti-pattern, and that's not wrong. It is an anti-pattern, but it's also a pattern. And by that, I mean, it is useful to have singletons. However, if you're going to have a singleton, you need it to be managed in such a way that it is not detrimental to your project and is changeable and is injectable. So essentially what an IOC container lets you do is have singletons of an object. And so if the backend data for a view that is always going to be visible, if some of that is always there, then yes. And yes, Code with Sean is correct. If your answer is just singleton all the things, that's wrong. But for example, if I have a view that is going to always exist, so the main window of our program, this is always here the whole time we're running. If I open up another window, the parent window has not gone away. And in fact, if I close it, it's going to take the child window with it, and they're both going to close. But since this window is always going to be here and is always up, if the view model, for example, is the back end of that, it effectively is a singleton at that point. It's not going away. Now, it's not built as like a static object, but it is a singleton, and it is always held by this. I never create a second one. It's not a singleton in the sense that it was like built as a singleton type, because that has the challenge of being hard to test. But it is still a single instance. We will never make a second one while the program is running. So this was all, I did all of this by hand in code, T-Locks. So I did all of this in the, all in the XAML code that I was working on here. This is what creates all of that UI so not just this one, many files of these create all these different pieces. And I'll talk about how they all connect together. Singletons are bad if you use them by default, but also exactly the right thing for something you want one of for the lifetime of an app. Exactly, Derplord. Yep, that is correct. Yep. So singletons are great if it really is we need one of this object for the lifetime of the class of the program. So, for example, a view model for a thing that's never going away. Another example of something that I will probably have a single of is the view model for this screen will probably be if it's not a singleton, then whatever the data is that I use to load it will be, or will always be accessible. I guess technically I could just have these automatically always save their data back into the file, and we could always read it back out of the file every time, but I kind of don't. I mean, I guess we could do that. I haven't decided yet. Right now, the view models for these live for the lifetime of the app. So if I fill in some data here, and I close this and I reopen it, you'll see that the data is still there. So what? Wait, what's gross? Root guy? All patterns can be anti-patterns depending on the context. Exactly, Fuel Snable. What is this? Basic MVVM primitives. Like all the various commands and things, yes. And basic messaging and stuff. Into the Windows Community Toolkit. Yeah, so I have not pulled that down in this project. So that is one of the libraries that we were thinking about pulling in, Simon. Got it. So are they both just go? So they're both dead and going into that. Okay, well that's fine. Either way, I hadn't included any of them yet because I had not decided which direction we want to go. So the idea that someone's bringing up, let's talk. Not that we're not already talking, but let's discuss some of how these pieces are fitting together so it makes sense. So if you look at that, this is the layout that I created for essentially authenticating your bot. Is you'll fill in the username, the channel, and you need an auth token. And so you're going to click this button, and I haven't decided if we're going to open up in our own app window, which in some ways is easier, in some ways is harder, or if we're going to open up in the user's browser. The reasons to go each direction. If we go in the user's browser, then the advantage is that the user knows that they can trust us and we really have gone to the website we said, because their browser can show it in their address bar, and they can confirm that they really are authenticating with Twitch and not my fake Twitch, right? So that's, for security reasons, it's better to go into the user's own browser. However, if we do that, then if they're already logged into another account on their browser, you run into a problem there as well. So, so in our previous apps on this stream, we have brought up the browser rather than done it inside the app. But I do know that when I've passed this to some end users, they've had problems with that. So, but I think that's because they were not developers. So from our perspective, it's easy to authenticate this stuff that way. For some other users, it might be more complicated because they might have to log out of their existing account, etc. So we'll figure it out. Probably going to do browser because that's the way that we've done it before, and from security standpoint, it's a better way to go. How is it caching the input? T-Lox, you're wondering how it saved the input, and that is the fact that it is, so any data that's filled into those boxes is automatically bound to the view model. And welcome, Katrina. Welcome to the stream. Yes, it's okay, Pudding. It's okay. You can be confused at this point. We're going to talk about the MVVM and how it's structured. And yes, doing it in the browser and embedded Windows supports password managers. True, Simon. True. You're right. That is another reason I hadn't even thought of. I was thinking from the security standpoint of that the user can confirm they have gone to the place that they think they are going to, but you are absolutely right. I didn't think about the fact that if they're running a password manager plugin in their browser, that would give them access. No, Pudding. Nope. This is the start of this project. There's nothing here. This project is this. Look, I'll run it again so people can see it. This is we started at this. We started from this point. I asked people if they wanted me to I offered to essentially rebuild this on stream today, and just have this up to the side and walk through it together as we built it. But I would start by just showing this and say, hey, we're going to build this today. But people suggested I just start from this, so I'm going to do that. So we have these couple of pieces. We're doing little basic hamburger menus. This really is more of a placeholder. This is just placeholders, just mocked up. None of this stuff's really wired up. The question of how do I get this stuff to stay here when you reload this window is twofold. So it is really creating a new window each time. So it's killing that window and creating a new window. But I am loading the window with the previous data. And if you're wondering how I'm doing that, that is, well, without going and digging through all the code, basically the view model that is the backend that is bound to that UI, I'm passing the same one each time. So I'm just holding on to it. So the parent, that, here, the main view model literally has the view model for the accounts view, like it literally has the instance of the accounts view model right now. So it can't not have this one. When we switch to an IOC container, what's going to happen is we're going to make it so that the ildev, yes, the code is on a GitHub repository. It's not public yet, but it will be. So you will be able to take a look at it. And yes, I built a prototype UI off stream to get us started on this project. Okay. So that's essentially how that is set up there. This is the window that gets opened by that. And if we take a look at the code down below, I literally just handle the so on the front. So this code is in the view model. Keep in mind, this code is not in the back end of the actual view. So if I go to main window, you'll see it's right here. This is main window. And where is the button? Here it is. So this is our button that we click, and the command it is bound to is the show accounts window command. And if you take a look, that is a command that is here on our view model, not in the backend code of our main window. So that's the idea. And also, welcome, Ildev. Or ILDev. I don't know. I'm guessing Ildev, but welcome either way. And if you let me know, I'll try to say it better. Can you submit PRs for this? Root guy, that is the plan, is for people to be able to submit PRs to this. So that is one of the reasons why I wanted to give people the explanation of the project at the beginning of the stream, and that is essentially that we want to build this for essentially plugin support. So this screen, while it doesn't have anything on it yet, this is the screen that is all about essentially building more to it. Are you planning to support runtime loaded plugins? Probably, APOC Dev. Probably. So the intention is that someone could come to this screen and maybe click like, an import button that would bring it, and then they could just point to, say, a zip file or a folder that contained their plugin. We would copy that over into the plugins folder of this application and essentially maintain a, plugin version of that code that it would run from the bot. Now, that being said, we could almost certainly do that with Python code. I think we should be able to do that with C# code. I don't know that we could do that with any type of code depending on how we want to have it run. But right now my plan is to, starting off, to support C# plugins and Python plugins. So I'm not totally sure what we're going to deal with, APOC Dev, when we get to, specifically when we get to the idea of if one service would be replacing another one, how are we going to handle that? What we might do is when loading a plugin, we check to see if it is going to replace one. And like the first version of this could be that we say, no, this is not allowed. So root guy, the plan is that there's going to be a very specific pattern for them. So we may not allow them to just custom add anything that they like. For example, only supports Unity for DI, not .NET Core DI, so I recommend rolling your own. Oh, well, that's annoying, Simon. I'm kind of shocked they're not supporting the default .NET Core DI as well. Because I was not planning on using the Unity one. Funny enough, I have not actually used Unity for that in a long time. Yes, that's right, everyone. It's been like 2 years, but I'm finally using the green cup again on stream, so I can disappear. What streamer? What do you mean? He's not here. There's no guy there. You don't think the DI supports service registration after build? So await task. It depends on the DI framework, and especially if we are rolling our own. Olive green to firebrick, please. Welcome, Jen's Duck. It is quacktastic to see you, you mean. Welcome to the stream. It'll be difficult for me to grab my my rubber ducks hat right now, so I apologize for not putting it on as I usually do when you show up to the stream. It is currently sitting under a box as I am packing up everything in my office right now. So a few streams from now, a few weeks from now, we should be hopefully in different space for this, and hopefully that'll help me fix up my green screen and other stuff. So we'll see how that goes. Oh yeah, that is one. Actually, I like that olive color a lot better. Thanks, Renee. Yeah, so the ASP.NET DI. Yes, so if we're using the standard like .NET Core DI framework that exists, we will run into some problems because you're right. I don't think we can add services to it once it has been built. So if we were building our own container APOC dev, we would not have a problem with that because we could just add them in whenever we want, because it would be no concept of building if we don't want to have it. So we could essentially make it build as needed any object it needs. We would basically be rolling our own, which, depending on the complexity of what we're building, may or may not be a problem. So something I used to do a long time ago is it doesn't have to be APOC dev, but for some things they work as collections. So for example, if I have a collection of objects that get referenced when someone else uses it, so basically every view model out there that references my collection of essentially actions that have to get data passed to them when basically everything that can respond to a user having said something in chat, if there is a common interface that is going to be used then by every adapter that talks to every different type of plugin, as long as the plugins are following that structure, they should match an adapter, and that adapter should get run every time. And so the service that runs in the adapter should be there no matter what. So the fact that you have added an additional thing into the collection should not make a difference, because every one of the essentially everything else that grabbed that data. So if I have a class that wanted access to what the current commands are, for example, then essentially and yes, so Simon is correct on that point. So each one of those would essentially be its own, so each one of those would be in there. So anything that needed to respond to that collection would just have a new one added if we added it, right? And it would suddenly have access to it. And yes, so APOC dev, the plan is not necessarily, so my plan would be not to allow people to replace the existing services. So their plugin is not designed to like change the way that it saves data or change the way that it talks to, say, Twitch or Discord. So that's not the type of plugin we're talking about. We're not talking you change this from a Twitch bot to a YouTube chat bot or a Facebook chat bot or a Discord chat bot. That's not the type of plugin we're talking about, and you're right. My plan for that would be that we either just add in the support to actually connect to those as a feature, and that would just, be part of it, or alternately, someone, we could, so the plugins that I'm talking about are more like you want to build custom stuff. So Simon was correct. So the idea is that each plugin would essentially be its own set of stuff. And yes, the plugin could do its own DI separate from everything else, but it would still need to get itself into the IOC containers, the idea. Correct, APOC Dev. Yes, so they could build custom commands, they could build their own games, they could build their own UI elements. So the idea is we would give them the ability. So we would want them to be able to have their own tab. So if theirs requires a tab on here so that they can add something, they could totally add in their own tab over here on the left, and we would allow that, and it would be totally valid for them to be able to do. Also, what they like. So we want them to be able to have that kind of control. We also would give them the ability to add overlays to their stream. So if you wanted to make it so that your stuff could add a new display, so if I wanted to put my little like color changing light stuff on here, that could absolutely be built as a custom script in this bot. It would be the idea. Exactly. I have no idea what you're building, APOC Dev. But this is what we are building. But you have listeners as plugins to handle whatever chat source. Yes. So specifically, I want. So yes, that is kind of the idea. Is that basically any plugin or custom script that you want to add is just going to be getting called out to by those. Everything runs through Mediator for event pipelines to do games, commands, overlays, displays, etc. Yeah. That. So I haven't decided if we're using Mediator yet, but we will be doing something like that at some point. So specifically, I'm planning on making sure that we have adapters to work with all of the existing bots that are out there. Rather than just making our own custom one. You can do poor man's static events too. Dude, static domain events are totally fine. They work great. Partial class main window. This is an entirely unused object. Okay, so let's jump into code. I've done tons of explaining up to this point, so we're basically here. Let's have a look. Fine until you have one event handling about 400 different actual events. Yes, there is some number of plugins and custom scripts that if someone puts them in here, it's going to be a problem. Okay, let's figure out so let's continue on our prototyping, and let's build a custom plugin screen. So, plugins. So we're essentially going to wire up this screen that doesn't exist. So let's have a look at what we've got. Plugin view. It's right here. It says plugin view on it. So that's all I've got for it is this. It just says plugin view. Let's go to the plugin view model, which is right here. Plugin view model. And then let's go to our main view model. Welcome, Samu Libs. Netcodes, hello, greetings, welcome. Can you go over the resizing window and the refresh briefly? Tilak, sure. Give me 1 second on that. So there's a couple of pieces to that I'll want to explain when I talk about that. So the plugin view, plugin view model is right here. That is that and that. And now on our. So in the main window, I should have this defined. Do I not? No, I don't. That's why I did not define the view up here. Okay, so plugin view model, and then I need a view that is the plugin view. There we go. Basically, I'm binding the data template of the plugin view model to be this view. So, when this page runs, we should now see that. So that's the piece that I skipped on there. and then we can start customizing. So when I mentioned that I broke something, that's what I broke. Thanks, Simon. You're not going to trick me with that. You're not going to trick me with that. Good try. I brought my lights back. Okay, so this is our custom plugin view. So you'll notice it no longer says the type. It now says plugin view on it. And yay! Yeah, Simon tried to trick me there, everyone. So he turned these lights black. And, like, if he got it to switch and I didn't notice for, like, 20 minutes, I'd look and I'd be like, my lights are out. Are they broken? But I noticed what he was doing. Simon did not manage to trick me this time. Okay. T-Lock, you wanted me to show a couple of things. So first off, we are using a library that some other developers in the community work on. This is the one. If you just look for this, this is actually what we are using in our project for a couple of things. Yes, he was foiled because I noticed. It is always worth trying. So this is like a UI framework that does it's fairly lightweight but does some theming stuff. Gives us some good hooks for doing that sort of work. So we're using this both to allow us to do some theming of our project. It's also what gives us that nice hamburger menu that we're using. And it is basically just what some community members on the internet are building. So Epoch Dev, Font Awesome is included as part of those. So we can use, so I can either just use Font Awesome as part of it, or I can use the Font Awesome icons essentially as packs from that, and either way works fine. If you don't like the icons that we're using, we can feel free to make a suggestion for a different icon for them. I just tossed some in there to get a basic idea about it. So this is basically a library of various stuff. So I really like the fact that they've got these little, they've got a badged control. So if you want to just have these, there's just, you just wrap this around it, and whatever the number is the number that it shows. So you bind that to something in your view model, and boom, you've got badged icons. You can put it in whatever corner or spot you want it to be, and yay. So nice, easy thing to just set up. So they have little bits like this that are useful. So this is the hamburger menu that we are using. I've used their code before. It is actually pretty nice. So they've got little flyout stuff if you want to do that, though I'm not a big fan of that style. Their documentation's somewhat lacking. Maybe at some point we will help them out with that. So, various little sliders and things. Their windows, I'm kind of happy with. I like them. They also do a couple of other nice little things for us. Yeah, I know. You like the coming soons. They really need to have some of those, old 90s construction animations on their page. That would be good. Okay, so if you're wondering how I got the resizing T-locks, literally I am using their resize mode, can size with grip, and that is literally the way that we get the resizing. Now, if you're wondering how I get everything to flow, that is just by not putting anything in there that would prevent me from doing that. So if you want to hold it somewhere, you can put in a minimum, and so then I could maybe go in only to here or something like that. But right now I don't have any restrictions on that. So if you even look on these other screens, you'll see that as I get small, I can get smaller and smaller. This is unusable, but I mean, if you imagine there's some rows there, we're going to get scroll bars and things like that. So essentially just make sure that you have a scroll viewer where you need to, and set minimums on anything that you need to have hold. So, and yes, it absolutely needs more marquee. The Visual Studio Designer. Pudding, what do you mean? What about the Visual Studio Designer? There's a design view in Visual Studio that is above the code that you probably saw when I did this. It's got the design view is right above it, so you can see it right there. Yeah, so await task. We actually have that one in our library as well. That's in here because we pull it in with MOABs. If they switch to a GitHub-based documentation system, they might get help with that. I think they have one, Simon. I think they do have that. Now, the funny thing about that is, before everything switched to that, I actually built I built one of those tools a long time ago that was GitHub-based documentation system that people could edit. I built it for a company I worked for in the past. They never ended up using it, funny enough. But it was so we actually built in the ability for users to make the change directly to the site. And the funny thing is, we built it so that you didn't even have to go to GitHub if you didn't want to. If an anonymous user wanted to do it, we set it up so that like an anonymous user could send an anonymous PR, essentially. Like we just created an account and it was like, it's just going to come in as this account. This account doesn't have any rights on our thing, but it's basically we let their automated PR come in to our docs, and it just essentially like put in their info, like, you know, here's who's sending this PR. And it was like, yep, we just required that they tell us something, and that PR comes in, and, you know, we could accept or reject it. And so they didn't even have to log into GitHub in order to be able to send us a PR. And it was like, yeah, it was like, that's slick. Like, you want documentation that someone can edit by just sending you a PR? Don't if you want to go to GitHub, you can. So it's like, go to GitHub and change a bunch if you want. If you want to just make a quick edit on the site right there and send it to us, you can. So, yep. Okay, so the short answer to some of those questions that people were asking is, because there was kind of the suggestion of like, how do you sort of get this layout and the resize and everything. Let's talk about setting a minimum. So I have a height and a width on here that are the height and width that it starts with, but I could also set a minimum. So like maybe I don't let you go smaller than like, I don't know, this-ish, which is probably what, like, I don't know, 300 by 600 maybe? So I could do min width equals 600 and min height equals like 300, for example. Just taking a guess. Let's see if that actually applied already. Yep, there it is. So now I can't go smaller than that. So essentially setting like a minimum, like you can't shrink smaller than this, you need to have some size to it. So they make it nice and easy for all these little pieces that you're going to use. The other nice thing that I should point out that if you're not super familiar with WPF development, this little thingy here, when you actually publish this little nub up here on the top, this will not be here. This is here when we're in development mode and attached to Visual Studio. Essentially what this, you'll see it says hot reload available. That is because I can actually just make changes and you will immediately see them. So let me put this somewhere that you can see it. So it says Chatterbot up there, right? I'm pretty sure I can just say that and see, look, now it's got exclamation points. So now they're gone. Hey, I want to change the casing to lowercase. There we go. Now it's all lowercase no matter what. I want it to be all uppercase. Hey, it's all uppercase. Or if I want it to be normal. Yay, we're back to normal. So you can change all these things on the fly while it's running. So I could, for example, I don't know, it's like I could change a bunch of things. I was just thinking like change styles and things like that. But funny enough, that gets weirder without building in the customization for it. Yes, hot reload is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Oh, dumpster! That is awesome. You're going to love this project then. So if you were watching our old videos, so I mentioned to people that we had done videos where I showed everyone how to build custom Python scripts. The plan is to support that same model in this. So the custom script video that I did, I want those scripts to work here too. We're not going to wire it up the same way. We're not going to do it exactly the same way, but I'll have an adapter in here so that we can support those. So if anyone built a script following the instructions that I did in a past video, or if you just grab something someone else did and works on another bot, we want that to be able to run in ours as well. So if someone had a custom script that was written for another bot, we want that to be able to work on ours if possible. There'll be some exceptions to that. So for example, like those I think are all like Python 2.7 something, 2.73 maybe, I don't remember. I don't remember the exact version, but they're one of those old versions of Python that nothing has ever moved past. And the idea is that we could still run those, assuming that someone has Python installed. We can say like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's some old version of Python. On hover and click events, I've been making a Pokemon catching game, keeping track of levels and battles. Yeah, see, exactly, Dumpster. And so we want any of those that someone builds to be able to run in this. So essentially being able to build it and ideally then have a nice community-supported application that can do that. Okay, so let's create this view. So some of those questions like click events and hover and things like that Telox is asking, we're going to run into some of those as we build this. So what do we want to do? Let's break this up into a couple of different pieces. So first off, I'm thinking we're going to want some kind of a header. So we're going to make a stack panel that is going to be, and it may not remain a stack panel forever. I'm just doing a stack panel because it's easy. That's the nice thing about XAML and other layout stuff, is that I can change what that piece is. I just want to have an element there. So I can change the way it's laid out, but something needs to be there holding the top. So this will be a horizontal stack panel that for now is going to contain a text, block. It's going to contain a text block with the text, I am the header. Okay, so that should be our header. If we take a look, you'll see it says I am the header up at the top. But you go, but wait, that's not the header yet, is it? And I go, nope, it's not really the header. Content, click to do something. All right, see, that's this is what I meant when I said it's not the header. Look at that. That thing's tall, isn't it? Okay, so the next thing that we need in here is some kind of, this will be a grid. So let's call this a data grid. I don't know what the type is I don't know what the items or anything are gonna be yet, but we'll have a data grid text column, and it's going to have a header that reads script name column 2, 3, and 4. So notice that this suddenly just broke entirely, and you're like, wait, what just happened? And a couple of things happened. First off, grid row 0. But now I say grid row 1. And anyone that knows XAML, this is one of the biggest problems with XAML, is like the way that it does this grid structure. So you can think of a grid as kind of like a table, but slightly more designed for layout than a table is. And there are other structures we can use, because we could also be using a dock panel, we could be using a stack panel, other things like that. I'm just using a grid for now so I can show all the different pieces. So this is a grid. So I created the definition for grid rows. And now grid rows have height as a property. So I'm going to add a height property to them. This first one, I want to take up as much space as it is needed for it. And this one I'm going to have expand to take the rest of the space. Yes, so as Simon mentions, yes. Yep, think CSS grids. So it's a more layout-focused, like, grid structure. Lazima, welcome. Thanks for that follow. Much appreciated. Welcome to the stream. So now all of a sudden we can see that, okay, there's a header up there and there's this. Now, if you're wondering, I think the header, we're not seeing the types because I don't think it loaded the styles correctly. But that'll fix when we restart it. not everything works perfectly on hot reload. I should specify that. Let's take this, and this will be our footer. Let's say click me. I don't know. Right, that's at the top because it's still grid row 1. So let's make that grid row 2. And again, it's complaining, so I'm going to add another row definition. So there's our row definition. We're going to say height equals auto on this one as well. So we have 1 that's expanding to take all the space, and 2 that are auto-determining their height based on their contents. Okay, so we have a footer, we have a header. So there's something at the top and something at the bottom. On this one, let's... actually, we'll do it for this one. So we'll say horizontal alignment right. So we've got that one over there. We've got this one down here. There we go. Let's restart so that hopefully the UI reloads correctly. Yeah. Derp Lord. I don't know what that emote is. Oh, it's just a hi. Hello, welcome. No, the headers did not load in. Is that because there's no content? Maybe it's because there's no content. Item source, yeah. What do we want to call these? Do we call these plugins? Guess we can call it plugins. So, plugin view model. Oh, you were hiring the new follower. Oh, okay. Awesome. Yeah, let's, observable collection of plugin. I wonder if I can get away with plugin as the name. Okay. So, to-dos on all of these. I mentioned this at the beginning of the stream. We are essentially prototyping out the structure of the application that we basically want to build, and we're going to start wiring together all the pieces later. So the fact that we're just loading this from here is like we're just creating a new collection, and that's not going to be how it works in the long run because plugins here, because it's from the south. I'm not from the south. Code with Sean. So the idea is that normally this is going to load in from some kind of storage. I mean, I assumed because you said plugin, plugin. I can't even say it. Yeah, see. Did you say you're making some kind of wrapper for other scripts? So, Dumpster. So, essentially, the idea is we're going to build a bot that is designed to have lots of user customization in the form of custom scripts and plugins. Is going to be our primary focus. Is the bot's going to do some basic stuff, but even a lot of the features that we want to add in, we're going to have come in through plugins. So instead of us building the quote system, for example, that exists in every bot, we are instead going to have custom commands be built in so that you can have the basic, well, I don't have a version of the bot. Let me get this running and then I can explain. But for simple commands like, a ping pong response or a shout out response and things like that, we want non-developer users to be able to create those just with essentially key replacement stuff without really writing any custom scripts. But we also want it to be that the quote software that we do that lets someone say, quote, and it'll randomly respond back with a quote. So that's what my other bot does. It responds back with a quote. We want to take that and make that a plugin. So if you don't like the way that the default quote system works that my bot runs, then and someone else wrote one that's better, cool, use that one. And so that sort of opens it up to the community we can have a set that comes pre-built with it, or you could go and just make your own. So I wouldn't actually do something horrible. Hold my Coke Zero. Huh. I guess I must have been drinking Coke Zero on that episode. Very strange. Woo! Okay. So this is our plugin. It'll be a base bindable type. Basically, I made a base bindable for like any of our objects that need to have like the iNotify property change stuff on it, just to make it a little bit easier to deal with. Yeah, so Code with Sean, for example, could have like Southernisms. Some people could do like, you know, maybe someone wants like Chuck Norris jokes, for example. They could build a plugin that does just Chuck Norris jokes, or John Skeet jokes, whatever you want to do. I'm gonna need to do deconflict plugins using the same command. Yeah, or dad jokes, for example. Like, whatever kind of thing you want to build, the idea is we want these to just be easy plugins that someone could just make. And hopefully we can make it so it's, like, super easy to just add some basic stuff in there. Yes. That is really hilarious to think that, like, some of those quotes that are coming up are over 2 years old. Yes, exactly. Quotes or compliments. Okay, so this is the plugin that we want to have. So now we should actually have some of these things. So what do we want to have in a plugin right now? Let's talk objects. It needs to have some kind of a name. For a lot of them, it's going to have like file name, folder name, directory name, file name, directory name. Because it's going to be inside of a folder. Maybe I'll just call it directory. No, directory name. We're going to do directory name to avoid some conflicts. Path. Thank you. I don't know why my brain wouldn't come up with that. To build in a quote plugin and Simon's super duper quote plugin both want to use quote like key binding conflicts. Yes. Yeah. So one solution to that is to essentially we could make some kind of a thing like that was like an alias type structure to help adjust those. So essentially, I guess we could make it so a plugin could first one loaded wins. Icy Black Deep is correct. You could go that route and just say first one loaded wins. The trick is that they may want both to respond. So if you loaded two plugins that respond to the same command, that might be something that you would want to deal with. Also, we could make sure in our example that we do, so when we build a sample plugin for people to model off of, we can make sure in the settings for them that we show like a way of customizing, like allow the user to customize what the command is that they call it with. So while I might say quote and it does like quotes from the streamer, someone else might have one that does quotes from famous people. And if you wanted both, it could be like fame quote and stream quote that they do as the commands. If each one just allowed the user to configure it. So we want configuration screens on these to not only enable and disable plugins, but also enable and disable individual commands that each plugin registers with the framework. No, so Simon, we don't need to go that far because we should be making sure that the commands themselves have their own configuration to be able to do that. But the trick, if we go that route, then we have to be more strict on the structure that we build, which we can do, but that just means that we then have to have them registering their commands instead of responding to the actions themselves and essentially handling the commands themselves. So it depends on how we want to go with that. But yes, you're absolutely right. We can absolutely build it that way. And that could be like two different types of structure. So, okay, so we need the name, we need the path, we definitely need a Boolean for whether or not it's enabled. What else do we need on here? What are the other things about like specifically about a plugin, not the plugin's configuration, but about the plugin itself. Type. Plugin type. We need a plugin type. So I have not. So as I said, we're just prototyping this out. So we have not gotten a lot of this stuff in here yet. Well, I don't know exactly where I want this to live yet. So let me get rid of that for now. But plugin type needs to be its own enum. Yeah, enum. Okay, so. Version. Yes, Telux. Thank you. Yes, we need a version number. I don't know if we're going to use one of the actual version, like, data type classes or not. So for now, it's going to be a string. Only because, again, we're just mocking this up. We're not really using this yet. We could replace that with anything. We just want to have it in the obsolete the API version. That's how Minecraft mods work. You register your mod with various capabilities with various registers, such as new blocks, world generation, and recipes. Yeah, so if we get into some of those more complex ones where they start, like where we can build that structure. That's not where I want to start. Oh man, my eye looks terrible. That's funny. Got something in my eye, and now I have one red eye and one normal eye. Joy. Welcome to the world of development, everyone. Where nerds do silly things on stream. So what are our plugin types that we want to be dealing with? Yes, I do still have two eyes. Keep it as a string so you're not boxing developers into any given version scheme. Yeah, exactly, Apoc. It makes sense. It probably will be a string. The one thing I was thinking is that we could make it like a looser version. No constructor. We may not need a constructor for this yet, Moshiko. Or at least once force them into Semver. Yeah. Exactly, yes, exactly. Yep. We might send them into a semantic versioning structure that they'll just have to accommodate for APOC dev, which it could just be the person loading it that has to tell us that if it didn't match it. As new versions of the game are released, a mod needs to be built with the comparable version of the SDK. When it isn't, then it's listed as obsolete and can be disabled or updated. Ooh, that's a good point. Yeah, I have to think about that. Do I use the Windows subsystem for Linux too as a compile? No, Moshiko. We are just. We're just running in Visual Studio on Windows here. Template font. Hang on. So just food for thought, but I recently built a system in our company that uses NuGet as a plugin repository. Might be worth doing similar. So yes, APOC Dev, we could look into doing a NuGet suggestion for that. We could absolutely use NuGet for publishing and distribution. Yes. We could totally have it talk to NuGet. So Simon, I love your thinking there. Yes. Okay, so funny story. Company I worked for a long time ago. This may be a good thing or a bad. So, for anyone that remembers NuGet at the beginning, there have been sure, and you can hate NuGet if you want. So NuGet has had a few different websites that have been like the structure and backend for NuGet. The first version of the NuGet website was just cobbled together. The second version of the NuGet site, funny enough, was an old Orchard website that was built by some of my coworkers when I was working at a place. I helped them a little bit on it, but I mostly was not the dev, one of the devs working on it. But it was funny because that version of the NuGet website was launched during a conference that the developers were attending. So they were literally in a conference hotel room, like launching the NuGet site live for that version, which is hilarious when you think about that. That's one of the funnier things. Is like, yep, a bunch of devs are at a conference, like up at night, like like just huddled around some laptops, like just there in case anything comes up while the site's going live. It's just really funny. Yeah. So right now we're Windows only until we have Maui. Because we are doing a WPF app, so this for now is Windows only. But as soon as we have Maui, we're hoping that this will be able to run pretty much anywhere. So, I mean, in theory, someone could run their bot on their phone, if they really wanted to, eventually, if we build it right, which would be really neat to just be able to, or maybe they've got like a tablet sitting off to the side of their computer that they could have it running on. So if we can build this to take advantage of that, that would be nice. So like a few years down the road, it's like running, on someone's laptop instead of just requiring it be on their streaming computer. Blazor's WebAssembly works great using WPF view models. Then I might have to look into that, Simon. Why don't you use parameters in your enum function? I am not sure I understand the question there. If you're going DI, why not leverage DI instead of having hard-defined plugin types? So, APOC Dev, I think what you're referring to is that it depends on the structure that we're talking about. So my thought here is that the plugin type is going to define essentially how we register it. So, for example, not all of these apps are going to be are going to be C#. So these plugins could be like a series of Python scripts in a specific structure that had been designed for a different bot that we would allow to work in here. So, why don't we call this? Let's come up with some names, and I think it'll start to make some sense. So, what is this one? This is a chatter plugin. Until we have a better name, that means for this bot. Yeah, sure. Chatter plugin. That's fine. We could also support. You're doing it in your own app. Nice. Library and executables. Yeah. So exactly. Yes. Some of them could be something entirely separate that you run. What other kind of plugins might we have? Let's say. Let's say an Onc plugin. Or maybe Onc script. That might be a good way to describe it. I wonder if we can get away with actually using their name. I don't know whether they trademarked it or anything. So there's nothing to say that we can't let someone else just load essentially match the interface. So call the same let someone pass in their script and we can just match their interface. Don't think we have any problem with that if we want to just let people use theirs for ours, because we're not using any of their code. We're just saying, yeah, we're going to build something that'll pass the same data to them. What data do you need? Okay, yeah, I can call a method with that name in Python. That's fine. I'll load your Python script and call that method. Cool. Yeah, so exactly. It's how we're going to interact with this. So What would generic script be? Sure, yeah, plugin runtime, that's fine. There you go. And I don't know what other ones we would have, but for now I just want to have that there holding a spot. So let's go to our plugin view. So next one is that plugin name, path, runtime or version next. How about name and then name and version and then path? Name, version, path, runtime, and is enabled. I think that works. C# VD and F#. Is there a reason? TypeScript, yeah. Code with Sean, we're not integrated with Twitch yet, and there's a reason for that. So I was tempted to connect this with the existing Twitch lib, but I want to talk to our friend Lucky and find out how far into his Twitch lib rewrite he is. Because if he's far enough along, then I would like us to depend on that instead. So I believe I have answered your question, Sean. Yes, Pudding. Well, I don't. Yeah, so I think it's going to be the same one, but I think it's a ground-up rewrite of how TwitchLib works. Yeah, so Simon, so when I originally wrote my first chatbot, I wrote with the idea being that we would not necessarily be connected just with Twitch or with anything else. For now, I'm going to focus just on Twitch instead of adding the additional complexity of having to deal with any other systems. That being said, I will probably try to write it with a wrapper around most of the Twitch stuff so that in theory we could switch it to anything else. And yes, that's the idea. We're going to build it to be testable, which is what the wrapper does anyway, because we're going to build it that way. But before, I had designed it with the idea that you might connect it to multiple things at once, and I may do that. I'm not 100% yet. Yes, it should be testable. And yes, Dumpster. Java and C# are very similar. C# is basically like... there was a dispute between Microsoft and Java a long time ago, and they said, well, okay, fine, we'll build our own. And they built C# to basically be like Java without the issues that Java had, but Windows only. What? Yeah. Except still without generics. Wait, what? Yes, exactly. With .NET Core and .NET Standard and .NET Standard, C# is yeah. So the C# Java relationship is one of those weird ones. Basically, since about 2005, Java has been playing catch up on trying to add in all the features that C# adds in. And yes, exactly. Yes, the first version of .NET did not have generics, but in 2005 is when .NET added its generics on like .NET 2, and they did like what I think to be some of the best it's one of the better implementations of generics out there for languages that have that concept. I had a lot of discussions shortly after they came out, specifically with the C++ community, about all the differences between the way that C++ templates work and C# generic works. And it's a very interesting discussion of how they're different and solving similar problems. Similar, not the same problems. And the Java generics are very weird because their types aren't really there. That's what's very strange about them. Okay, I want to look at my, what did I call it? Commands view. As I want to steal some of my other code that I already messed with. I did this once already, I'm not doing it again. There's the runtime. Header is runtime. Its binding is going to be what's on the plugin. Plugin runtime. It's fine. Whoops, wrong one. Plugin runtime. Item source is going to be plugin runtimes, plural. Okay, so I have not yet built myself a little helper that gives me combo boxes for enums, but the way that I'm going to do it is this. So just to explain, I'm going to make a resource section for this user control that has an object data provider. So essentially, I'm just putting like a XAML object. This is kind of like a XAML structure that makes an object available to the code for me to bind. Stop repeating yourself. Yeah, don't repeat yourself. So that actually reminds me that someone sent us an email recently asking whether or not we're doing any more calendars. Yes, I used to actually build a physical wall calendar. I was a team of developers that I've worked with before. We used to make software craftsmanship calendars is what we called them. And yes, we do need more calendars. I agree, Sean. We have not made one in a long time, but the calendars are spectacular. And they're all about just software stuff, and they make jokes about these things. It's a really funny calendar. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Fuel Snable's correct. There have been a lot of good generics that have been created in various languages over time, and the C# ones are quite good. A lot of them. Plugin runtimes is what we're going to call this. So, okay. So, I'm going to write some code in C# so you can see what's going on here. Essentially, what we've said is we're going to take the object type system.enum. So let's jump over here so you can see it. That should be in its own file, but I'm not going to deal with that just yet. So system.enum, and we're going to say get names, right? Get values. Get values is the one that we're calling there. So see, we're saying on this type, call this method is essentially what we want to have. And it is plugin runtime. is the type that we're actually calling it on. And so essentially what we are saying is to pass in the type of plugin runtime. And so this right here, this piece, that's what this code does. Essentially, this XAML is doing that highlighted line of code that you can see above me there. Okay, so that's all that's doing, and that is going to get us the collection of this. Let's move that to its own file. Okay, so that should get us those. See, we're passing, see, method parameters, pass in the type of that, and that'll get us this. Now, we could do this somewhere else. We could put this somewhere else, blah, 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 blah. Wait, what is this? You're hearing Steve Smith now in his monotone voice. Yeah, they're expensive. Yeah, he's not kidding. The software craftsmanship calendars are extremely expensive to make. We would sell thousands of those calendars to developers when we used to make them. And I can tell you that we took massive losses on them every time because they cost way more than that to build. Like making those calendars requires a lot of time from people, and there's usually expense in a lot of the stuff we do as well. So like there's added expenses, like if we use any stock images, for example, stock images for print are expensive. Stock images for digital are much cheaper. We would take as many photos as we can, but again, if you're taking the photos yourself, you either have to go and do it all yourself, or you have to pay a photographer to go and do that work. And so it was very expensive both to set up and then the creation of things like the hammer that we used in the golden hammer when we made our own Thor's hammer. That is like a made custom Thor's hammer that he is holding up there. That is a golden hammer that is actually like someone took the time to build that, and we stage all these things, and there's a lot of time photoshopping stuff. There's the actual creation of all the calendar stuff, because something that we hope that you noticed is that is not just a basic grid that we took someone's calendar template. Like, we customized all the stuff in those calendars, so there are even like jokes in the grid part of the calendar. There are meta jokes to things. One second. I'm going to show everyone what I'm talking about, because we're talking about these calendars. Hey, Ruben, welcome. Be right back. There we go. All right, I'm back. So this is the first software craftsmanship calendar that we're talking about, made in 2011. And this has a bunch of interesting stuff in it. So where's... The first one's not as good. You can't see it because the chalkboard is green. So this is, I will not repeat myself, I will not repeat myself, I will not repeat myself. Of course. There's You Ain't Gonna Need It. There's Dependency Inversion, which we talked about early on in the stream. Again, there's green on this page, so you're seeing through it, but the general concepts are there on all of these. So, like, when I said we made physical calendars, I wasn't kidding. Like, we made, like, real, like, just wall calendars, which I think surprises people, because it's like, wait, developers made wall calendars? Yes, we did. And then, our second one, we reinvented the wheel for it. And, it's kind of hard to see in this tiny little spot, because I'm, down here. Look, my hand is in this picture. The duct tape coder. You gotta love that one. We used Photoshop. We did not actually balance that stuff on a shelf that was held up by duct tape. This is one of my favorites. This is Waterfall, but check out that L. It is an L. We just shortened it a little bit, so it says Waterfail. So this is what we're talking about, like the first golden hammer. And here's one of my favorites. You can't read the memo because the memo is getting removed because it's too close to the green. But calendar coder, because blindly following tips from a calendar is a best practice. So, yeah, so we did these. They're very fun. Is this the one that has it? Where is it? Yep, it's this one. Hang on. Okay, so here's the crazy part that I want to tell you about. And I'm not kidding when I said we went to a lot of effort. You can't really see the code there because it's sort of disappearing. But if you check out that README, that is actually source code that README is made out of. And the part that's really going to blow your mind is that code in there is real code that runs and does stuff. It's JavaScript. And we even wrote really tiny down there. Whoops, where is it? That little bit of text right there. The code really works. We wrote in really small print to tell people. And the nuts part, the part that's absolutely crazy, we had someone, a good try, Telex, I see that. We actually had someone email us with the text that gets printed out if you run that code. So we know that someone ran it because they figured out what it did. And it's extremely obscure code. So like you're not going to be able to figure out what it does by just looking at it. You're going to need to actually run that code because it just does things in ridiculously convoluted ways and takes advantage of all kinds of weird JavaScript tricks. And what's weird about it is like when you actually get an email and someone's like, you know, someone actually tells you what the code said. It's quite fun. So they're very expensive to make. There's a lot of stuff that goes into them, but they're very, very fun. Okay, so in theory, I have invalid markup still. Whoops. Oh, yeah, that element. Where did I steal that from? I stole that from here. Did it have a closing tag that I just didn't include? Yes, it did. Okay, that's fine. I don't know why it has a closing tag here. I should self-close it. Yep, there we go. We don't need numeric up-downs or anything like that. Let's run this. So there's we haven't bound any items to this yet. So it's not really like a, or did we? We bound the items to it. Actually, now that I think about it. Ah, good, we're blowing up. Excellent. Add value to collection of type. Item control collection to an exception. Using the item source instead. Oh. Derp. How did no one yell at me about that? How did no one yell at me? Good try, Apoc. I got you again. I'm catching all of you trying to mess with me on that one. You gotta hide it when everyone else is talking so I don't see that it was typed. Must be empty. Items collection must be empty before using item source. What? This data grid isn't empty? What did I do on my plugin type? Hang on, I need to open up my plugin type. What do I call it? Name. Okay. Binding, version, binding, path. That's actually funny. Guess that's the problem with using path. Oh, clever, APOC. Yeah, clever. There you go. Yeah, there you go. There we go. Nice bright green. Text column. All right. Plugin binding, plugin runtime. So I don't need that one anymore. And then a boolean for is enabled. So this should be a data grid checkbox column. There we go. And this is binding to the binding path equals. Did I just call it enabled on the type? Yes, I did. Okay. So now we should be bound to the type, and I'm going to path equals on that too, just so we're consistent. Yep. You can change. No. We don't have HSV or HSL or anything like that. Icy Black Deep, and it's only 6 digits. I should mention on our. We don't bother with the alpha channel on that. So no alpha on that. Yeah, we support RGB, not ARGB. Slight difference, but yes, you're right. We don't have the alpha on there. Yes, I'm aware that I could parse the alpha, but I don't deal with it because I was like, meh, I don't care. So that's right. I didn't care to give you the. Yes, I'm aware that that's still red. It's just red that you don't see. Yeah. The parsing supports it, but I'm not using the alpha channel because I'm just. You're right that I'm parsing that into a color, but I'm not doing it, so you can't hide it from me. Items collection must be empty before using item source. I'm gonna check what that is because I butchered some. It's syntax, I'm sure, that I just messed up. That is not actually what I'm looking for. Alright, I'm gonna go check and see what my syntax mistake is. It's the commands view is where I'm gonna see it. Oh, derp. Yep, I see the problem. I forgot to do this. See? I told you it was a syntax thing. I did not put... Okay, so explanation for how data grids work. Just to make this make sense. So with a data grid, good job. So the way that data grid works, and this is actually the way that most of the various XAML structure works, is inside of any given XML object, so any of these tags, if I were to just put items in here, that is adding them to the item collection. So essentially, I'm adding explicit items. So if I wanted to hard code in the XML what the starting items are in this collection, I can do that by just putting them literally in here. By saying data grid columns, I am instead defining that I'm setting the columns of the data grid. So when you do one of these, so I'm inside of a data grid, so if I make anything that is data grid dot and then something else, that means I'm messing with one of the templates of that. So this is messing with the columns template of the data grid. So essentially that's like saying, hey, I'm going to code in what the template of this is. And that's what I've done here. So, yeah, so auto-generate columns actually probably would have worked fine with this now that I think about it. But it's fine. All right, item source, and I want to can user add rows? True, because the user can add rows somehow. Can they add rows in here? No. We're going to make them add rows separately because we need to do the file checks. So I'm going to say no to can user add rows. Well, actually, let's put it in there for now for our own testing purposes, so we can test with it, because I won't have fake data in there yet. So let's have a look. Not the button I meant to hit. Are you going to toss a read-only on this control? I imagine your plugins collection won't be. Yeah, so Icy Black Deep, precisely. So we're going to make this grid be... So this grid will be editable, I think, for certain columns. So I think we're going to make it so that enabled and disabled is editable, and maybe even name is editable, and we may allow sorting in case there's like a load order that is required or something like that, or we might do it just based on a number. Haven't decided yet. But right now I'm turning on the ability for adding rows so that we can just see it with some data to see what it looks like. So the name would be like quotes, plugin, version 2.1.1.1, and the path is quotes plugin. It is a Python script. It is enabled, and it's in here twice because I have the thingy turned on that is auto-generating the columns. Auto-generate columns false. There we go. Okay, so then we could have some other plugin that was like wasteful game version 1.0.0.0, and it is a its path is a wasteful game. It is a chatter plugin, and it is enabled as well. Okay, so that's basically the structure that we would go with, is something like this. So if I had two plugins, is enabled, I guess, might be at the beginning now that I think about it. That might make more sense to have it in this order. Like whether or not, because whether or not a plugin is enabled is super important. In fact, I think I'm going to remove the is and actually just call it enabled. And then another thing that I want to adjust about that is that, well, actually, do we want... Plugins probably should start off disabled now that I think about it and require that the user click to enable it. Or maybe if they're loading a plugin, it's automatically on. I don't know. I'll have to debate that one. Yes, so Wheatlol. For the binding, you're correct. I don't need the path. So I am going to... I think we're going to add other stuff onto here. Oh, is it... You know, you're right. If these are read-only, then we don't need it. Except for maybe the enabled. let's move this to the beginning. Enabled, name, version, path, runtime. Yeah, I like that. Okay. The Grumpy Game Dev, hello, welcome. Hey, Irish, hey, welcome, buddy. Long time no see. Irish, does it automatically send out messages in that Discord? Weren't you the one that set up a new, like, automatically announced stream thingies? I don't know if I'm in that list, but I should be in that list. Maybe rename the path property to location to avoid confusion. Oh, you're right. Yep, alright. You win, Simon. I think it was your suggestion to say location anyway on that. Irish, you're gonna love this. So I am finally working on a more, like, user-friendly bot version that is designed for, like, people to add in custom scripts and things like this. And I'm planning on writing it so that all of the custom scripts that you've already built will be supported by this. Yeah, exactly, Irish. I thought you would specifically like that, because if we do build a better one and make it specifically so that all the scripts that you... So, I know that there are a lot of developers out there that have invested a lot of money building scripts, and that's why I want to say, like, yes, if we're going to build a new system that is, like, you know, getting active development on it as, like, you know, a modern thing, then yes, we want to make sure that we build it such that any work that people have done for their projects already, for their streams, they can just leverage and take advantage of instead of having to redo it. Because the challenge to moving for most people is having to build all of their scripts from scratch. So that's what keeps people trapped on any given system that they're on. So our plan is to basically build plugins for... basically build in a structure that you can import scripts that were written for any bot. So we want to try to be able to support just any one if we can. And thank you for those follows, everyone. Der Bayer, I'm guessing. And but I guess it technically could be Bayer, but I'm guessing Bayer. And Val, welcome. Thank you for those follows. If anybody else is in here and enjoying the stream, be sure to click the follow button as well. So Irish, the plan is that we're going to have our own structure, but that we're going to build an adapter so that we can send that same information to any existing scripts that people have. T-Lux, you weren't following? You keep showing up to every stream and you didn't click the follow button yet. Either way, welcome. Thanks for following. I was just shocked because you keep showing up to the stream. Like a regular here that, yeah. Exactly, the Grumpy Game Dev. You have it precisely. There's a lot of that stuff. You gotta be cautious when you read names aloud on streams, as they can be pulled out of context very easily. Congrats on winning. Here's your trophy, and by here's your trophy, you got no trophy, so have a sack of... oh, wheat! I will trade you some wheat for some ore, the Grumpy Game Dev. Do you have some ore? I don't need any sheep, but I would be okay with ore, maybe brick. Maybe brick. I think what you meant to say was no. I don't have sheep for wheat. I guess. Usually people make the wood for sheep joke, which is another inappropriate joke, but it's not so bad. That is me disappearing behind a cup. Yes, so for anyone that didn't get that reference, we were talking about a game called Settlers of Catan, which has a card trading element where you trade resources with the other players, and your resources might be wheat or sheep or ore or brick or essentially lumber is, I think, the official term for it. Yeah, exactly, Irish. That's part of the problem. Is I looked in that channel and it is like spammed like crazy, full of Let's see, tons of streamers in there, and I didn't want anyone left out. Yeah, so Irish, what you need to do is you need to have two channels. You need to have the general one that spams everything, and then like the VIP one for like you know, the streamer and VIPs only. Yeah, exactly. There you go. Which probably yeah, for like VIPs. Yeah, exactly. You got it. So, which I probably don't even get included in, but that's fine. Okay, so we have this basic structure. We need to put something else in the header. I'm thinking, what do we want up here? So what do we want down here? Somewhere we need a button to add new, and somewhere we need a gear for the settings. So let's put the gear in the top and add new down on the bottom, I think, because you add to the bottom of a list, so I think that makes sense. Let's see. Whoops, wrong one. Plugin view, here it is. All right, so it says I am the header, but this is going to be plugin settings for now. And then this one is going to be add new. And I guess since we might have a whole bunch, we'll do a text box. And at this point might be when we get rid of the stack panel being the structure for this. And a button, and the button is going to have the content of search. So search, and this needs to have a min width of 150, we'll say. So there's a search box, and there's an add new button. The problem is I want this aligned right. Which this isn't going to work yet because we're not fully stretched yet. Irish, hey! Thanks for the Twitch Prime sub. You show back up to the stream again, and you got a Twitch Prime sub for me. That's very nice. Yes, very important project. That's right. Until the list goes off the page, then you have to scroll down to add something, then it sucks. Yeah, exactly. So, but that's why we're adding this button in the footer, so that you don't actually have to scroll down past it. So that's the idea, is you don't have to scroll down for this. It'll always be on the footer. It'll be anchored there. Might start sending your daughter to your stream. She wants to learn coding. Oh, Irish. No, that's a good idea. If people are interested in learning to code, watching some streams where people code is not the worst thing they could do. And one of these days I do want to get into doing like learn to code streams again, because I have not done any learn to code streams in a long time, but I am thinking about doing it again. Gears for all buttons and identical gears at that. Well, a gear on different screens is not necessarily a problem. Teach your children to use Git. That's not the worst idea. Okay. I said that horizontal alignment right wasn't going to work, and let me show you that it doesn't. See, it doesn't work. The reason it doesn't work is because the stack panel that it's in is not extending the screen. And so what I have to do to make that work is if I say horizontal alignment stretch, then I thought it was going to work. But I guess since it's a stack panel, the alignment on these objects isn't going to work. You know, I guess what I could do, so I could grid this as well, but I think rather than gridding this, so I could grid the whole thing and just grid span that, or like column span this across the columns, and then align each one to each side. I could. What is the worst idea? Teaching your kids to use, TFS? Source Vault? I don't know, pick one. Yeah. All right. So that's grid. This has column 0. And yes, I know that column 0 doesn't have to be specified because it's the default, but I like specifying it just to be consistent, because if all the other things are going to have it, then I might as well. So we're going to add in 3 column definitions, and they're going to be width equals auto, and that's going to expand to take the whole set. So let's have a look at what it looks like now. Got it. So search is way too big because it's taking up the whole space now. I was hoping that certainly, because it will expand to take the whole space if it's inside of a grid. Teach your kids to drive. My kid is not old enough to drive, so I don't have to worry about it. Nuclear bombs, that would qualify as something that is the worst wheat law. Giving your kid a potato for Christmas. Yeah, that's pretty bad, Tealox. I'd recommend against that. That's what makes it a teach your kids. Yeah, my kid is not old enough to drive, so I definitely will not be teaching him to drive. Teach your kids to be entirely dependent on you. That also seems like a really bad idea, the Grumpy Game Dev. Stack panel will start, and oh yeah, I could stack panel column 1. Interesting that I was going to stack panel column 2 also. Hey! Irish, thanks for gifting 5 subs across the stream. Wow, Wheatlall, Fuel Snable, Bingo Bob, Cryptic Enigma, and Nikki Supra, congratulations and welcome to the DevChatter Chatosaurus Club. But is it the worst? No, probably not the worst. Nested grids are often handy. Yes, I agree, Icy Black Deep. And funny enough, Fuel Snable ends up with a... Yes, my hair needs to get cut. I'm aware of this problem. Pandemic and all that, I've been trying not to get my hair cut. And more with there's Nakey Supras. Yes, my hair moves around a little bit. What do you want? So thanks again, Irish, for gifting out 5 subs to the DevChatter community. That is much appreciated. I know that they will enjoy those. As I know I am a fan of our DevChatter Chatosaurus emotes. Who doesn't love a shocked dinosaur face like that? I mean, come on. Yeah. And yes, that is a very strange thing for you to be awake during the day, Irish. You must be staying up really late. Oh yeah. Now, so yeah, Simon, I am not one of those people that shaves my head. I actually have I've got my old beard shaver from when I used to have a beard. Which, yes, I used to have a beard. Shockingly enough, no one on the stream has seen me with like. I do not have one now. In fact, my son does not remember that I used to have a beard when he was very little. Oh, you're a data center guy, Irish. Yes, you will be up all night, every night. Then there's no way around that. You just end up with that schedule if you do anything along those lines. I guess you could be the guy that has the day shift, but that, is just weird. Okay, so that stack panels us over to there. Then this one eventually could get a stack panel if it needs to, because I was thinking that we might have some other stuff next to the add new and everything. Which makes sense. You're seeing the derp and wondering when your Prime sub will be available. Yeah, I know. Isn't that a good derp? And And the high is really like, we have some good emotes. The funny thing is, you're not even like, because I don't have enough emotes unlocked, I can't even like, I'm not able to give you all of the emotes at once. So I used to rotate them around more, but they just take forever. Oh, is that on right now? No, it's not on. Is the bot not on? Hang on. Okay, it is. Why didn't you get that? Hang on, one sec. Yeah, Hey, there we go. Irish to the rescue. And the Grumpy Game Dev, congratulations, you now have the derp emote. Sorry, yeah, there is a cooldown on that, but there's so funny enough, that's our old derp. Which what I might do at some point, if we had enough emotes, I might unlock both the classic as well as the current versions of all of our emotes, because we've had 2 full sets of emotes, so there are like a dozen emotes for me to choose from for all of our DevChatter stuff. We have some like, hang on, let me pull up the ones that I don't think you all have seen before. These ones. Where are they? Here he is. Come on, load. Why is a photo taking a long time to load? Oh, good try, T-Lux. I see that. You tried. What are you talking about, completely derailed? We're not completely derailed. And then, where's the other one? There he is. Okay, well, I loaded them in here because they loaded. But I have these 2 emotes that are little dinosaurs, like, that are, so, yeah, slightly derailed. But, like, if you line these 2 emotes up, they are actually, like, clanging swords together. It's really good. It's really good. So that's some of the emotes that we don't have in there in great spots. Oh, actually, now that I think about it, I have them. What am I talking about? Yeah, they're those guys. And there's this. And that. Yeah, these are all the emotes that no one else gets to see. Yeah, so like, I forgot, because they actually do let me have them in there. So yeah, that's our set of emotes right now. Yep. It's good stuff. I really like the left and the right sword fighting thingy. It's fun. It's Hey, the Todd Father. Thank you very much for resubscribing to the stream. Welcome back. You want to be the very best like no one ever was. Oh man, that is awesome. XKCD compiling. That is what those dinosaurs are doing, by the way. In case anyone is wondering. They are compiling code. Yes. That is what they are. Yeah, so the problem is I used to try to rotate them around. They had been part of the regular just sub a long time ago, but I shift my emotes around from time to time, or I used to. And the silly part about that is it's like, oh, they unlocked me the ability to load additional emotes on there. I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll do that for those ones for now, and that works. At an old job, we had a foosball table for during builds. Yeah, I have worked at places that had foosball tables and things like that. I have worked at places that had Rock Band for that. So like, you were waiting on something or just needed a break. Cool, like go off to the away from everyone else and just play a song on Rock Band with some people. Yes, thank you, the Todd Father. I am a big fan of our emotes, with the fun little grabber arms. Pool or build. Yeah, you could definitely have a billiards table there if you wanted. You had an air hockey. Yep. Yes, builds don't take that long anymore. But yes, yes, you could do DDR or whatever you wanted to do. Uh, we've played board games at companies that have worked at. It's usually you want to take a break, not like while things are building. We developers need those breaks. That's when we're thinking. We're thinking on breaks. Even if your brain is occupied with something else, you need to let your brain think about other things. Okay, so this is the header. We said that was the plugin settings, but we want to change the content of this. So let me go and change this. So that is now a... Well, that's silly. I don't think I technically need that. Well, I didn't mean to delete that part. Okay, so in theory, that should still work. So it says plugin settings, which is fine, but I don't want it to be this. I want to grab something else. So I have a cool little app that I use that another developer made that is fantastic. So if anyone uses the MAApp stuff, that is also like they have a browser for all the icons. You have foosball and ping pong table. Yeah, that makes sense, Renee. Exactly. Yes, you have to wind your brain down. Precisely. You hit on it exactly. Like anytime I've got some kind of challenging thing that I'm trying to solve, I end up coming up with a solution when I'm falling asleep, when I'm going on a walk, when I'm taking a shower. Like it doesn't matter. It's like I'm not programming. I'm not sitting at the computer trying to solve the problem when my brain suddenly just goes like, oh man, that's the solution. And like you got to get your brain off of it for a bit. So yeah, puzzles. Puzzles is a really good idea. If the cleaning crew tossed our in progress puzzle, it's been sitting in there since March. Leading lady, that is amazing. I didn't think about that. That yes, organizations that had stuff like that sitting out. I don't know. Maybe if you haven't been back to the office, like maybe they finished the puzzle for you. I don't know. Distributed computing took the fun out of compile time. Yes, T-Lux, that is part of the challenge. So I like working remotely. I like working in with teams locally as well. I used to do a lot of that, and I used to work really closely with a lot of developers. One of the things I like about remote is that I can work with people around the world a lot easier. But yes, you lose a lot of that fun interaction that you can do in close proximity. This is probably the most true comic you know. Hang on. Yeah, I can show that on stream. Yep. There you go. So the funny thing is, like, there's this joke on the internet about, and I guess just generally in communities where anyone works any kind of job, in the that people that work in offices and things like that basically go and use bathroom breaks as a way to escape from work for a little while. And the funny thing is, if your developer wants to take a long bathroom break and just sit on the can for a while, that's not a problem. Their brain's still working. So when people are like, well, how many hours did this developer get? And it's like, yeah, developer brains don't we don't shut off our brain when we step away. It's like, oh yeah, you want to go do something? Cool. Have a drink. Go, talk to someone at the water cooler, discuss what your kids are up to. I don't care. Like, your brain's still going. Your brain's still working. Yeah. Benefit of working from home, you can just sit on the couch and draw on an envelope. Yeah, exactly, Renee. That's one of the nice things of working from home is you can just lie down anywhere and think. Either active or passive thinking. Everyone can do it. It doesn't matter. It's just we work a job where we're trying to solve problems with our brains, so it's like it lends itself a lot to software development. And I don't just mean the procedural stuff we do. Like, you can solve issues with your CSS, your layout, with anything, just by not thinking about it. Yes, well, exactly. If someone's staring out the window, it's like, yep, that person could just be like, that you have no idea what is actually in their mind at that moment. Okay, so I was mentioning that I have a thing, so let's just go with gear settings. Whoops, all. Okay, so someone, I don't know who, made this awesome little application. They might have an about somewhere, but this is all of the little icon packs that are included with the like Ma apps NuGet package that we have in our project. And it's basically all of these different types of icons are in it. And like, you want Font Awesome? Here's the Font Awesome version. If you want to search all the ones they've got, here they are. So if you want to stick with Font Awesome, just click Font Awesome and find whatever you're looking for in Font Awesome. So, for example, if we really wanted to go crazy, we could include different settings icon in each one. So this came from Pack Icon Material, but this one came from Pack Icon Font Awesome. So this is the solid cogs from, it's cog solid from Font Awesome, apparently. And I can take this and just say, hey, yeah, I want to put this in my WPF app. So I click that button, it puts it on my clipboard, and I come in here and I go paste. And then I add the namespace to the top, and boom, I've got a cog. And so someone built this nice little tool so that I can just copy those out of there and I don't have to do any work. And if you look, there's a button that is a little cog button. Now, I don't want to do it, like, I don't want it to, like, have this button, like, outline and everything, so I'll mess with the styling later. But that's the idea, is, like, you can just kind of toss these things in here and add whatever icon you want. So, if there's, like, I don't know, what do people have for, like, new or plus? No, those aren't really. So plus, so that could be okay. These could be fine. So we're not adding a person. Add. Yeah, so like little add icons, things like that, little plus buttons. But something might jump out as you like, yeah, that's an icon that would work for whatever it is we're doing. So like, for example, if you're doing an edit, you could just search for a pencil, for example, and then, yeah, look, you've got edit buttons. So, designed for editing. And so it's just nice because it's just one place to just search, like, a handful of those. And the nice thing about it is, so we'll pick those as somebody, but I figured I'd show that there are tools like that exist. And that is called the, that's the, like, icon packs browser that you can go and grab if you're planning on doing this. And it's just a little, and you'll notice, look, it is the same kind of tool that we're using. Like, literally, this is the same thing. So if you didn't notice, like, they used their own stuff to build their own thing. It's brilliant, isn't it? Yeah, like, you're making a tool that does this? Cool. Let's see. I don't smoke, but used to go stand outside and drink coffee with the team that all did back when you were a junior dev, as that was when all the interesting design discussions happened. Yes. Moshiko, welcome. Thanks for that follow. Much appreciated. Simon, I have a friend who started smoking because they gave extra breaks to people, and that's also when the team socialized. So you would get extra breaks, and you would get to socialize with your teammates if you went out, and that's how he got started smoking. He still smokes. That's one of those, like, horrible things. You're like, wait, no, what? No. Like, I don't know people that smoke and are glad that they do, but addictions, they're not great. Speaking of which, let me drink some caffeine. Exactly, yes, that's how a lot of people got started drinking coffee. Someone I know started drinking coffee because the coffee was free and everything else cost money. So it was coffee or water. And it's like, well, you wanted something more interesting than water. Okay, well then coffee it is, or you're paying for it. You put up a sign. Yeah, exactly. Yes, you have to put out a sign letting people know that you're thinking and that they shouldn't interrupt you. In a lot of organizations, people put on headphones to prevent interruptions, but separate NuGet package, or do you have to load all the controls too? So Simon, that's actually just a separate thing that that you can download and install. That one. So that's just a separate program that you can just go and get. And why did my setting? Did I break my settings view at some point? Untitled switch, yeah. It's right there. That's it. It's got the items. Settings view model. Anything weird in here? Nope. Didn't put anything strange in there. The main window, I have settings view model as the view model is tied to that as the binding for it. So it's going to pass this type in. And then in the main view model, settings view model, application settings, yeah. I'm confused. You got into trance music and electric music because the office noise does not equal concentration, but music with lyrics was too distracting. So the funny thing is, Simon, when I was a junior programmer and was just starting out working as a programmer, I too listened to trance and other electric music because it would drown out anything else anyone else was talking about. Without having lyrics that mattered, right? So they were repetitive lyrics that you wouldn't listen to, so they didn't like occupy the language processing in your brain at all. Okay, so yeah, so Simon, the package you are looking for. Sorry, I get the question now. This is the one that you add in. So you include this one, and then that gets you all the ones that was using. Yep. Yeah. Dark Polearm, exactly. You can also listen to music in a language you don't know, because it's essentially the lyrics of the song in another language become sounds instead of, because you don't understand the language, it's not activating the language processor in your brain. It's just it's just noise. It's just the lyrics are more like tones at that point and sounds, so it's not triggering language processing. You're not trying to understand it. You're just listening to it and enjoying the sounds that the language has. So enjoying the sound of the language instead of trying to understand the words. Because if you know the language, your brain might automatically just try and process the lyrics, which is not great. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to dig into that. I'm not sure why that's not wiring up correctly right now. I'll have to look at that. So this is not working right for some reason. I'm not sure why. Currently making a base SDK that throws useful things. I feel like people stopped trying to articulate songs. Yeah, that could be. And yes, heads up for now, I did not actually put the version stuff in there. That is just hard-coded to 1.0. Like, we'll pull that out as actual version later. That's what I meant when I said this was just mocked up for now. Okay, so we have our plugins here that we're not actually adding anything to, but you know what I'm going to do, just so that we have some in here? Instead of just creating that collection there, I am going to add in a set of them. Whoops, don't leave the semicolon up there, Brendan. New plugin. Now, normally I would use a constructor for this, but I'm not, like, I would have to, I guess I could just create both constructors. It doesn't matter. Since this is temp code anyway. Name, wasteful game location is wasteful game. I don't know how it's going to actually appear in there. Enabled true. And plugin runtime is going to be Chatter plugin. And version will be 1.0.0. Oops, .0.0. I can type, I promise. And then a comma. And then duplicate that a couple of times. And this will be DevChatter Arcade. That'll be the DevChatter Arcade, which we'll call DevChatter Arcade. And this will be, I don't know, what have I built in, this will be, Jedi Sith detector, which I think I started building on stream. Jedi Sith, detector. And this will be a, Python script. So there's a good start to just our like default data in there while we're messing with this. That way I don't have to type it in every time. I just want to have like some default data that we can just see. And then once we make those actually do something, it'll matter a little bit more. But there we go. So you can see like this is what it should look like when these are in here. Okay. So that is good. So you don't want any semi. Yeah, no semicolons in this code. Not at all. This is C#. We never have semicolons in C#. Who was someone in our stream? Was it Greendolf? Someone in the DevChatter community went and built sample code that was designed to not have any curly braces. Who was it that built the code without any curly braces? Yes, Simon. The WinForms designer was nice. Yeah, someone did it in C#. They wrote Hello World without... it was Greendolf? Okay, I thought it was Greendolf. Yeah, so one of the members of our community thought it would be really funny to write a C# program like a Hello World that had no curly braces. No, Wheatlall, you don't need it for the... So, did it as top-level statements. So, no curly braces required for a class because there was no class. C#, exactly, yes. As Simon's mentioning, in C# 9, you can do code without being in a class. Which is crazy. Oh, was it actually a full to-do app? I couldn't remember. It was to-do app without curly braces. I didn't remember what it was. Either way, even doing Hello World without it is difficult. There was no class. Yes, exactly. No class. That's true, Simon. But even getting around that, doing a full thing requires at least using expression-bodied members. If you really want to go that far, I guess you needed lambdas. So you needed once you have lambdas, you can get away with a lot better. There you go. Yes, we have some silly people in the community that just do fun stuff. So that's why I mentioned, like, I love our developer community that we have. And it's not just like the DevChatter community, because there's there are a lot of developers building cool stuff on streams. There weren't that many when we started, but there are a lot of them now, and it's gotten really fun. So I am thrilled by the growth of the community of coders on Twitch. It has been fantastic. Oh, the Grumpy Game Dev. That is a very critical thing to mention. Just that is absolutely true. Just because you can do something with code doesn't mean that you should. For example, a long time ago, I was doing the greed kata somewhere, and people were talking about things, and I was mentioning that one of the reasons I like doing coding katas is that you can put some limitation on yourself to make you focus on something. So if you really want to learn LINQ and Lambda expressions, for example, you can do a full kata and try to do it in one line using just LINQ and Lambda expressions. So you could do the greed kata, where you build this whole like system for scoring these, rolls of dice in this game, and you can do it all in one line. Handling all the rules of this thing. You do it in one line, which is silly. Hang on. Checking my text messages. Okay. The other thing is, so most systems don't allow you to do binding on password boxes, so maybe someone in here knows an MVVM approach to dealing with like password boxes, because I want to do the OAuth as a password box, and the only way that I know of to deal with that, so if the user wants to paste in an OAuth token that they have generated elsewhere and put it on there, we need to be able to detect that they changed the password, and I don't know a way of binding to it. Because I thought they restricted that in some ways. I don't know what... So, most of the apps I build don't have you authenticate in any fashion in WPF. Why were the plugins checked by default? Tilux, that's just because in the plugins view model, when I created them, I just said enabled equals true. So that's why they were checked by default, because I set it to true. So imagine that this is the data getting loaded from the database that was already in there, and the database, data store, I should say, because we're probably going to use flat text files for that. Well, probably not flat text files for that. That'll probably be JSON. But we will do some things in flat text files, and the reason why is that there are a number of other tools that work with that other streamers use. So we might store our data that way just so that other programs can interact with it as well easily. Keith, we have not decided on our IOC yet for this. So let's add a couple of things. So first off, I'm going to commit these changes, which is adding the plugin stuff. Adding a plugin stream, and I will let you all see this. And yes, the horror, I am committing directly to master right now, because this is just the initial, like, I'm planning on putting all the structure together, here's the thing that we're going to build, we're going to put some UI in place, which is basically what we're doing now, and then we're going to start wiring it up. So as soon as I start adding in things that are actually saving the data to the file store, or once we start connecting to Twitch, each of those will be a branch that we work on. This is just setting up the initial. Yeah, I know. Yes. Also, the fact that I didn't adjust its name, so it is still called master because GitHub defaults and all that, which I didn't even bother with. Greendolph never thought it was a good idea, just something cool to try. Yes, exactly. Yes, precisely. Yeah, I'm not sure, Simon. I think it's that they didn't want it to be a string, specifically. So maybe there is another type that you have to bind it to. Exactly. Maybe because it has to be a secure string. Yes. I just know that it yells at you when you try to bind it. But the silliness is that secure string is not, like, all that secure anyway, but... well, that's actually not the one that I want. I want, Twitch account view model, OAuth, so, yeah, if I could type. Maybe it wants it to be this. So then on the Twitch bot view for OAuth, can I bind that? Password. Wait, how did I do it? OAuth. Object of type data binding cannot be converted to type system string. But if it's a system string, aren't you going to yell at me because it's a string then? It is .NET Core WPF and maybe... wait, what is going on? Make them paste a JavaScript web token and forget about it. It's .NET Core WPF, maybe it changed. They did rewrite it after all. Oh, TLX. Yeah, actually, that could be fun. Binding cannot be converted to type system string. Yeah, I don't know. Top level statements, is that new? So I think the big change is just the top level statements, Wheatlall. I think that's the big change that makes that possible. Either way. Let's see, did I leave any other changes? No, good. Okay, so that's what he wanted to have there. You set a data context, right? There is a data context at some point. There's data context above that because we're binding the other items next to it. See? So this view, this XAML file, the object in here, at the root object here, has a data context applied to it. So we should have it. It should just pass through. So it seems like password is the one that I want. I guess it's possible. I could say path equals OAuth. Whoops. But then it still is going to complain about it. I guess maybe I could use a converter to do something, but I don't know which one I would use. So that's why I said, does anyone know how to bind to that? So that's why I was just going to use password changed, because I don't like, because the password box specifically is weird. Yeah, so I don't know on that one. So it's a weird one, but yes. So hence the question of like, what are we going to do with that one? So, all right. So next stuff that we want to do on this is I want to find out from Lucky how far along he is on that rewrite that he was doing. Because if he's far enough along, then I would like to be able to use the Twitch lib rewrite. Whoops. Sorry about that. So that would be awesome. If he's not that far along, then we might just use the existing one and try to have enough wrapper around it that we can just replace it later when we can. I just don't want to run into an issue with that. The other things, we're going to be adding in some additional projects because we're going to pull out the core stuff. We're going to add a unit test project so we can start doing that as well, Parsival. You can't bind the password. You have to write yourself a dependency property. Okay, so thank you, Parsival. Yep, we will look into that for next time. Into cleaning up the API, but missing the implementation. Okay, so sounds like he's probably still a ways away. So we will probably depend on the current version of TwitchLib until some of the implementation of that API actually exists. So he's got basically the same kind of thing that we do, which is I was trying to come up with like, how's this going to work? And I wanted to walk through this because I want to kind of see like, how are users going to load these things in so we can start thinking about what they're going to be. And I think that this is going to work out nicely. So Next steps, I want to start saving settings, and I want to start connecting to Twitch chat, because once I start connecting to Twitch chat, then we can do nice things like wiring up the custom commands. So before we do plugins, first up is going to be the basic command response structure, which is this, where we're going to have basic commands with basic responses, and essentially have like tag replacements for like passing in like arg1, arg2 kind of thing. And what I'm thinking for that is like arg1, arg2 would be like just like if I did like a shout out to who could I shout out? Do we have anybody in here that I definitely know streams? Who in here definitely streams? Grumpy Game Dev probably streams, right? I think Grumpy Game Dev streams, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, see, look, there. So, oh, well, that's funny. Well, I had to scroll. You hadn't talked in a little while. That's why I scrolled up in my feed. I was like, who streams? Who streams? I'm like, Grumpy Game Dev does. Anyway, so my shout-out command is apparently not working. So you won't get a shout-out because it didn't work. But, yes, well, I tried. And that's worth something. So the plan is to have those be just essentially simple custom command responses in here, and the idea is that if it's just arg, it might respond back with the @ but like yes, the lurk coders, but the idea is that sometimes you want to remove the like @ from an argument, so if it knows it's a name, so like we might make it so that it's like target1, for example, where target is like a person. So like target1, target2 would be like you did a command that specifies multiple people, and maybe target removes the @ sign, or maybe leaves it, I don't know. But like those types of things could exist. So like we could do like name or something like that. So basically have like parameterized versions of those. So yes, exactly. So I was thinking basically give you multiple ways of accessing the args in your custom script so that like you could have, yes, exactly. Yes, like what Wheatlow's suggesting. Go check out so-and-so. They are awesome something. Where the first one there, Hippo Buckles, welcome, thanks for that follow, much appreciated. The first one would keep the @ sign so that you ping the person and so that it's clickable by someone, because they can actually click and follow without the link if they want to, if you added someone's name. So like if I say, like follow the Grumpy Game Dev, I think inside of the Twitch chat, you can click on that name. No, it didn't highlight it. You can't. You can only click on their person name. I thought maybe I'm thinking of a different app. But either way, it has the nice thing of tagging them, but then inside of the, but that you could have it without the advantage is that this is a string format or something, but not sure if it has named replacements. Yeah, so Wheatlaw, the challenge is if we go that structure, we could do string formatting, but I think that gets a little bit complicated because this piece we want to be for regular users, not just yeah, the bot did stop. I thought that bot stopped. I was pretty sure. There's a Magic the Gathering commander YouTuber named Jocelyn. Oh, well, might look like me, but I can assure you that I don't do any gaming streaming right now. There we go. The bot is back. Okay, so first off, a shout out to the Grumpy Game Dev from our bot, and there's the derp as well. And then the other thing, someone asked for a link. I think someone asked for a link to the YouTube channel. So there's our YouTube channel. So we could add some complexity to that, and that's something that I do want to talk with all of you about. And I'm hoping that we can get some input from the community on how we want that to work. But I'm thinking that that this can be a nice way. So, like, I know there are tons of bots out there, but I kind of want to build one that is designed with the purpose of adding plugins. So my first one is oh, you could link to their YouTube, but you'd have to know it, T-Lox. The advantage of this one is that that you know their Twitch name, so you can shout out their Twitch name because it's their name on Twitch. But you could do a YouTube shout out as well if you wanted to. So if I happen to know their YouTube channel name, you could do that kind of thing as well. You could also, just build custom shout outs to people. So, because that of course, anybody can make any custom command they want. But that's kind of the idea there. So, putting this out there is I think it'd be a cool thing for the community to collaborate on. So if this is something you'd be interested in working on, then hey, let's get going. I want to be able to build it so that these plugins can support overlays. So we're going to come up with a model where they can define essentially stuff they essentially they need to give us the HTML that they want to be running in order to be able to connect. So we'll just be essentially static file hosting them. So any HTML, CSS, JavaScript files they want to include, we're just going to deploy into our site that is running hosted out of this bot so that they can then access it in their OBS. And we'll have them do WebSocket connections. We'll probably suggest SignalR. So you could, Simon. The idea here is that I want to build it so that we can do plugins. I have no idea what Fritz even does with his bot, but he has done a bunch of custom stuff for his channel on his bot, I thought. But it doesn't even I'm not even so much worried about that, because if we get people like Irish that do bots for gaming streams rather than live coders, I'm cool with that. I'm not necessarily worried about adoption. I want to build something that the community, regardless of who it is, wants to work on it. He makes horses whinny when JavaScript is mentioned. Yeah. Yes, we will need a way of triggering sound effects. The Grumpy Game Dev, absolutely. Yes. So that's part of the reason why we want to do plugins, because my plan, Simon, is to make it so that I can port my bot's commands to it as well. So I'm going to stop using my custom bot once this one can handle it, and I'll just be porting everything that I do into this instead. So all the custom stuff that I built will become a plugin of this. And sure, yeah, but that's the point, Wheatlol. And I want to build it so that if you built a bunch of stuff for another bot already, there is one that has some type of plugin, that we can support those as well. Because for the most part, most plugin models that I've seen for bots that exist today are very loose. So yes, that's the idea. Okay, well, I want to wrap the stream here today because I gotta get going because it is my weekend and I want to enjoy some of my weekend with the family. But I want to mention to anybody that has been in here and enjoyed any of the discussion that we've had in here today, be sure that you click the follow button. This is the best way to get notified when we go live. I have not been as consistent as I would like to be with our streams happening when they need to. My schedule's a little crazy right now. I've got some life that is getting in the way of streaming, which is crazy to think. How am I letting life get in the way of streaming? Well, that's partially because life is important. So far more important than just streaming stuff. And coding stuff. So don't ignore all of your life stuff. Good balance, everyone. Good balance. T-Lox, I try to stream much more than just Saturdays. Our schedule is actually to stream on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. But it happened this week that I was actually more available on Wednesday and Friday than I was on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. I had stuff going on right at the time when I needed to be streaming, so it kind of messed up my plan this week. But my schedule is a little nuts right now. Not that I'm going to get into exactly why, but we will hopefully be back to some semblance of a normal schedule, even if I have to do some one-offs, which is why I tell people to follow, because it's an easier notification. So, yes, exactly. By the way, Leading Lady, I'm a huge fan of those of all the Pride emotes that Twitch did this year. They are really fantastic. I think my favorite one though is so funny enough, I don't have it on this account, but this one does. That's the one that I liked the most this year, was the Pride Pog. I don't know if you saw that one, but oh man, do I love that little bee. That is the cutest one. It took me forever to get that one, but I really like the hearts. I can't do it. It's like I don't know, like I don't like backwards maybe. I don't know. I can't. My hands just don't work that way. I can't do it. It's like this. Yeah. Hey, I did it. Kinda. There's the heart. Uh, they had the bee was fantastic. I really like the pog because it's just got like the bee's just got those big eyes, and you're just like, oh, it's such a cute little one. Ah, yes, so good. Yep. Okay. I would recommend making the bot as a microservice set. It makes it really easy to add features using whatever technology you can imagine. Yeah, so depending on how we communicate with them, that could be a way that some stuff was added as a plugin, Wheatlaw. There might be a way to do that, essentially having them be like separate processes that we're running, which should be a little crazy, but yes, approaches like that could absolutely work. So we're going to have to figure it out. Either way, I do want to wrap the stream here, so I am going to do that. I want to thank everyone for hanging out today. Let me go ahead and roll our credits. Our next stream hopefully will be on Monday at our regular stream time. We'll see how that goes, but I don't have anything. I have something scheduled for Monday. I forget if it's in the morning or the afternoon that might interrupt it. If it's in the morning, then I'm okay. I'll look on my calendar and find out, and let people know on Discord whether the Monday stream is going to happen. If it's a Monday morning thing that I've got, then the stream should be on. If it is a Monday afternoon thing, then the stream on Monday will get canceled. But yes, we will definitely be back next Saturday for our stream, and I'm hoping that I can do the Monday one. I know that my the Thursday one is going to get messed up, and the Tuesday one is going to be late. But either way, that is the plan. Shoji, welcome. You didn't even talk, but either way, welcome to the stream. So let's go ahead and roll the credits while I'm thinking about it. So thank you everyone for hanging out today. I want to make sure that I thank our moderators, the wonderful and amazing Green Dolph, Mr. Shoji, and me. These wonderful people that followed us today, so thank you very much. If your name is on that list, thank you for clicking that button. We really do appreciate it, and when you click that button, it tells me that you're enjoying what we're doing. I want to thank Irish both for subbing yourself with a Twitch Prime sub and donating subs to other people, as well as the ones who subbed themselves, like the Todd Father, for example. So whether you subbed yourself or received one from Irish earlier on the stream, congratulations. Welcome to the DevChatter Chatosaurus Club, and enjoy using your emotes all around Twitch. They are fun, loving, and great, and we enjoy them. And I hope to see you all next time. So as I said, maybe on Monday, but Tuesday will be a late stream. So either way, I will see you then. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a fantastic rest of your, day. I don't know what time it is where you are. Hopefully there is some day left. Maybe if you're much further east of me, day might be getting close to over. But either way, happy coding, everyone. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time.